Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite things to look at each new NBA season, and that is breakout players. I love to see guys make that leap, become stars, or whether they go from just kind of like decent player to a star, or even star to superstar. It's just fun to see players make that leap and get better every single season. And so I've got 10 guys that I've been looking at. Now, this is not even close to the total number of guys that are breaking out this season. For example, a guy that isn't going to be in this video is John Morant. Despite him having a career year so far, you've heard a lot about John Morant, so I'm not going to talk more about him. So this won't have every single player. If there's a player that's not on this list that you have seen break out and that you want me to maybe talk about, make sure to drop it in the comment section below and I can talk about them maybe in a future video. Maybe I'll make a part 2 of this if you enjoyed enough. But let's just go ahead and get into the list, starting off with number 1, and that is Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey was thrust into the starting point guard position once the whole Ben Simmons situation has gone on. There's been a lot of drama around that. And while that's been going on, Tyrese Maxey has done a phenomenal job of continuing to be that lead guard, stepping up big time in Ben Simmons' absence. He was a guy that a lot of people weren't sure was quite up for the challenge. We had seen flashes in the past. But of course, it's a big leap to take, going from a bench guard to the starting point guard for a team that was just the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. It's a big leap to make in your second season. And Tyrese Maxey has taken complete control of that. He's seized that opportunity, averaging 17 points per game, 4 boards, 5 assists. He's doing everything phenomenally. One thing I have noticed is that he kind of needs to figure out when to stay aggressive when Embiid is on the court. Sometimes he kind of slips to be a little more passive when Embiid is on the court, and of course Embiid is their go-to guy. But Maxey is good enough to go and find his own bucket as well. He's done a great job creating his own shot. He's shooting 36% from 3, 46.5% from the field, and not only that, but he's playing really big minutes too. He's playing 35.4 minutes per game. It's a heavy workload for a guy that is really their only true point guard, I would say, probably on the roster. You've got like a Shake Milton, but I see him more as like kind of a shooting guard. And so Tyrese Maxey is stepping up in a big way, and he's a big reason why the Sixers have stayed afloat despite a lot of COVID-related issues, a lot of injuries. They're going through a lot right now, and Tyrese Maxey is one of the biggest reasons for why they're still doing decent. Second, I want to talk about Darius Garland. I just made a video talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I still feel like I need to talk more about Darius Garland. When I think about players that are breaking out, I can't make this list without having him on it. Darius Garland has taken such huge leaps as a playmaker and a scorer this season. He's averaging almost 20 points per game, 3 boards, 7 assists. He has phenomenal chemistry with Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. He is one of the big reasons why the Cavs are excelling. He controls the offense super well. He gets everyone involved, and like I said, averaging around 20 points per game. He's done a phenomenal job of finding his own shot as well. That's a hard thing for young guards to balance, is when do you play make and when do you kind of find your own shot, and he has already kind of figured that out in his 3rd season. A player that many people, including myself, saw as a most improved player candidate coming into this year. He has done a phenomenal job of living up to that hype. He's someone that I think could be an all-star, and he's a big reason why the Cavs are so good. The Cavs are a really solid team, and a lot of that is because of the big leap that Darius Garland has taken to be one of the better guards in the Eastern Conference so far this season. Third, I want to talk about Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro came into the season, a lot of allegations that he was a bubble fraud. There was a lot of hype around him last year after his Eastern Conference finals run with the Heat, where he had that great Eastern Conference finals and even a great finals, a great series before that, etc. And then coming into last year, he didn't quite live up to the hype. And it wasn't really fair to him because that was just a short playoff run. So to expect him to do what he did in those playoff series for an entire season was kind of just unrealistic. But coming into this year, he kind of had that chip on his shoulder. People were super down on him, and he has done a phenomenal job. 21.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 4 assists. By far been the 6th man of the year so far, proving that that bubble run wasn't a fluke. He kind of just needed another year to put it all together. He's shooting 45%, almost 40% from 3. He's near a 50-40-90 type guy off the bench. By far taking the most shots off that bench. He is carrying them. A Heat team that kind of still needs some bench players to come back. For example, Victor Oladipo will come back at some point, but until that point, he has helped keep them afloat, and it looks like he's kind of in an all-star trajectory for his career, kind of getting back to what people thought he could be after that playoff run. So shout out to Tyler Herro for kind of shutting up the critics. Number 4, I want to talk about DeJounte Murray. I keep saying it, I want to make a full video talking about him, but I thought this was a good opportunity to kind of talk about him in a context alongside some other guys so I could get a lot of guys some credit. DeJounte Murray is one of the most, if not the most underrated player in the NBA. I guarantee you, if you asked a casual fan about DeJounte Murray, they wouldn't know much about him. Whether that's because he's playing for San Antonio or just people don't talk about him enough, he deserves a lot more credit for what he's been doing this year, averaging 19 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 2 steals, 44% from the field, 35% from 3. He is doing everything. He's a guy that could get you a triple-double almost every single night. He looks like a guy that could average a triple-double on a season at some point in his career as a taller point guard. Not only that, he's playing phenomenal defense as he always has. He's one of the best two-way guards in the NBA, and he's finally having that breakout season that me and many other people thought he could have. He had that ACL injury right around the time when I thought he was going to have a breakout year, and now that breakout season has come. He's worked his way back from that ACL injury to continue to look like an all-defensive level point guard, a great facilitator, a great rebounder, even getting to be a pretty solid scorer. He's consistently clutch. I feel like every time I watch him play, he does something big, and he's a guy that not enough people are talking about, so shout out to DeJounte Murray at number 4. At number 5, one of my favorite players in the entire NBA, that's Luguentz Dort. Dort's a guy that continues to get so much better every offseason. Every time you give him an offseason to work on his game and improve his craft, he just completely excels even more the next season. On the year, he's averaging around 17.5 points per game, 4 boards, 2 assists, his usual brand of great defense. If you know who Lou Dort is, if you've seen the highlights, you know that he's a phenomenal defender. Damian Lillard but he pretty recently called Dort one of his top 3 perimeter defenders in the NBA, which is huge praise from a guy like Damian Lillard. He's emerging as a legit second option for this team as well. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is by far the undisputed number 1 option, but Dort is showing that he has the capability to maybe be a 2 option at some point. He's averaging in his last 15 games 20 points per game, shooting 47% from the field and 37% from 3. That's the big thing. Dort's 3 ball is falling in his last 15 games. If he didn't have such a terrible first few games shooting wise, he might be around 35-36% from 3 on the season. As he continues to get more consistent, Dort just continues to get better. He went from one of the worst finishers at the rim in the NBA at the guard position last year to one of the best percentage-wise. He finishes like 70+% of his shots at the rim. It's really impressive what he's been doing this year, how he continues to get better, and he's only going to get better as he goes forward, as he has done every single season. Number 6 is Miles Bridges. He's probably my leader for most improved player at this point, averaging 20.2 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 46% from the field, 33% from 3. He's doing a little bit of everything. His 3 ball still coming along a little bit, but he does make those shots when they matter. He is a great attacker of the rim. He's emerged as a go-to option for the Hornets. He has great chemistry with LaMelo as well. Every time they're on the court together, I feel like there's a 50% chance you're going to see a highlight lob on any given play, and he's really emerged as an integral piece to this young core. Of course, they had LaMelo Ball, and they did have Miles Bridges as kind of that secondary young guy, but there's always a question of, can he be more than just a solid piece? And he looks like he could be an all-star at some point in his career. He's making a case for it just this year. And if this trajectory is the way that he keeps going, Miles Bridges is going to be, him alongside LaMelo Ball is going to be one of the best duos in the NBA in a few years. He's super fun to watch, and I've said this in multiple videos, the Hornets are one of my favorite teams to watch, so it's cool to see him having this breakout year. Number 7 is a little bit different. I went with Andrew Wiggins on this list. And you might be saying, Andrew Wiggins, he averaged like 23 points per game one year. And now he's only averaging about 18.7. So how can I truly say he's having a breakout year? And that's a very valid argument. But this is by far the best Andrew Wiggins has ever been. He is way more efficient. He's playing phenomenal defense. He's playing very well within the system. And not only that, but he is an integral piece to a team that is excelling and exceeding almost all expectations that people had for them. He's completely revamped his career. He's went from a high usage, pretty low efficiency scorer, a lot of times in Minnesota, to now being a lockdown 3-and-D wing. He's shooting 41% on 5.5 threes a game. That's really impressive for a guy that couldn't really hit them towards the start of his career. In his 8th season, he's really remolding his game. It's super weird to even say that this is his 8th season because it doesn't feel like he's been in the league for that long. Like, that makes me feel really old that this is his 8th season. But he looks like a legit candidate to be an all-star. He could be an all-defensive guy. Like I said, he's putting up almost 20 points per game on career-high efficiencies. This is the best Andrew Wiggins has ever been, even if the stats don't quite say so. If you watch him play, Wiggins is breaking out. Number 8, I want to talk about Gary Trent Jr. He is a guy that, once again, I don't think gets a lot of love because of the guys that are around him in Toronto. You've got Scotty Barnes, you've got Fred VanVleet, you've got Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, who is someone else that I could have put on this list, but he's hurt right now, so I decided to go with Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent is great. He was one of my favorite players these last few seasons. He's someone that I've multiple times mentioned on the channel as a guy that I'm rooting for and that I really like to watch play. Maybe that was just because every time I watched him, he destroyed the Thunder. So I kind of came to see him as this super good player, but he's really excelling on the Raptors this season, shooting 16.5, or he has 16.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, around 2 assists, 2 steals, and that's one of his big things. He's playing great defense. Not only is he shooting 36% from 3, but he's locking down on the defensive end, looking like a more consistent option, and he looks like he could be the shooting guard of the future for the Toronto Raptors. I think he's one of the most slept on pieces of their young core, and he's a guy that I would keep an eye out for if you haven't been already. Number 9, I have Desmond Bane. He is someone I had to have on this list because I feel like nobody has talked about Desmond Bane whatsoever. He's averaging 16.1 points per game. That's like 7 up from last season. 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 47.4% from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from the line. So ridiculous efficiency. He's their 3rd leading scorer on a Grizzlies team that's pretty solid. And it's just his 2nd season. So he got so much better in just his 2nd year. He's looking like a big steal, having been picked at the 30th overall pick in the 1st round. And I think a lot of teams are really going to regret passing on him. He makes big plays. He hustles. He hits timely shots. I feel like every time I watch the Grizzlies play. And Desmond Bane is one of those guys that you shouldn't sleep on. And if people are kind of considering, like, if he wasn't a 2nd-year player, I think he would be much more talked about in the most improved player conversations. But because of that unwritten rule that 2nd players don't win it, he's not going to get that consideration. But don't sleep on Desmond Bane. He's a super solid player, and he's a big reason why the Grizzlies have a pretty bright future. And finally, number 10, I want to talk about Cole Anthony. He has emerged as the lead guard on a team that has a lot of options. When you come into this season, you look at the fact that they drafted Jalen Suggs. They've got Markelle Fultz already. They've got RJ Hampton. They've got 4 young guards that all look like they could be really solid players at some point. And so Cole Anthony has taken complete advantage of his opportunities. Coming into the year, Markelle Fultz out to start the season. Cole Anthony has stepped into that starting role, and he has been phenomenal. 19.6 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 34.5% from 3. His efficiency, not super there yet, but it's also not a very good team. As the Magic put better scoring options around him, that efficiency will grow. But he's been able to get you a bucket anytime he goes down the court, anywhere on the court, and it's just his 2nd season. I feel like Cole Anthony has hit a big shot in like half the games he's played, or maybe it's just because every time he hits a big shot, it's this super difficult shot that I have no idea how it went in. Either way, Cole Anthony is one of those guys that is really making a name for himself and establishing himself in the early stages of the Magic rebuild as a guy that they've got to consider building around when they continue to build up and try and make a return back to trying to compete for a championship. And those are the guys I want to talk about. Those are my 10 guys on this list. Like I said, there were other guys I could have talked about as well. I mentioned OG Anunoby, John Morant, amongst others, but these were the 10 I really wanted to talk about. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's see if we can hit 100 likes. And if you made it to this point in the video, drop me below who your favorite guy on this list is, or another player that you think should be in this conversation to be on a list like this. And like I said, maybe I'll make another video like this at some point later down the line in the season if you guys like this one enough. I appreciate y'all watching. I will see you all later. Real One Say It Back.